Here's everything you might have missed in the Stranger Things 4 trailer. Roll for initiative, Stranger Things fans, because your favorite Hawkins hometown heroes aren't just about to enter combat, they're getting ready for war. On Tuesday, Netflix debuted the latest trailer for Stranger Things 4 ahead of Volume 1's debut on May 27th. Now we're going to break it all down for you in just a moment, but if you prefer to read all about it, local teen Michael Walsh has you covered over on Nerdist.com. And considering that some folks out there lose their minds if you even mention what's in a trailer these days, we're just going to drop a nice, friendly spoiler warning just in case you don't want to know what's going on this season.
The Demogorgon! We're in deep
Alright, let's get into it, shall we? Many of the previous trailers focused on the Creel house and the brutal murders that took place therein decades ago. This new trailer confirmed that this is in fact a focal point for the Upside Down's evil energy in Hawkins. Perhaps the biggest reveal in the trailer, though, is that the main villain is modeled after one of the most infamous Dungeons & Dragons monsters of all time, Vecna, a character invoked by name in the title of Episode 2, VECNA'S Curse. The traditional artwork of Vecna, as well from D&D sourcebooks, looks awfully similar to this creepy bastard we meet at the end of the trailer. Created by Brian Bloom, Vecna first appeared in 1976's Eldritch Wizardry supplement. Vecna was a dark wizard obsessed with his own mortality, and in his quest for eternal life, he became a lich, an undead spellcaster of immense power. In order to kill a lich once and for all, typically you have to destroy their phylactery, a special object containing their soul. Otherwise, liches merely get stitches. Liches hide their phylacteries in dangerous lairs. In the Planescape lore, Vecna dwelled in the quasi-elemental plane of Ash on the border of the negative plane, a nightmarish realm that feels a fitting comparison to the Upside Down that we see in the show. As for the show's version of Vecna, our best guess is that his lair is the Creel house, which lies along powerful ley lines where the barrier between our world and the Upside Down is particularly thin. But the bigger question is whether Victor Creel is actually a vessel for Vecna or someone who is merely mind-controlled by this powerful creature. We know that Robert Englund is playing the older version of Creel, but the chilling voiceover for Vecna does sound an awful lot like the legendary actor as well. The trailer opens in what appears to be the aftermath of the Battle of Starcourt from Season 3. We see the ruins of a smoldering lab next to where the Russians tried to open a gate to the Upside Down. Vecna warns, "You've broken everything. Your suffering is almost at an end." Then we see the creepy grandfather clock in the attic of the Creel house with a dollhouse behind it just to really hammer home how haunted this place is. This is followed by our first glimpse of Vecna, whose desiccated flesh and icy blue eyes immediately evoke a White Walker. Remember that show? Me neither. After that, Max visits Billy's grave. In Season 3, Billy was possessed by the Mind Flayer, but ultimately sacrificed himself to save Max, Mike, and Eleven during the Battle of Starcourt. So perhaps there's some residual power that was left in Billy, or maybe Max is developing latent psychic abilities of her own, because later in the trailer, we see Max floating Jean Grey style above Billy's grave as Steve, Lucas, and Dustin watch on in shock. And it's clearly quite exhausting as we see her later unconscious with Steve, Lucas, and Dustin at dusk as well. She also ventures into the Upside Down later in the trailer too, trying to escape from Vecna, so who knows? With Season 4's first episode named for the X-Men's HELLFIRE Club, maybe we'll get the Duffer Brothers' take on the Phoenix Saga this season as well. As Max talks to Billy's grave, we see corpses being exhumed from the Steelworks factory where the Mind Flayer turned Hawkins residents from humans into Goomans last season. She describes the situation as a total disaster as a shot of Robin, Steve, and Dustin transitions to a Hawkins High pep rally. Lucas is now on the basketball team while Dustin and Mike clap for him half-heartedly in the stands. Dustin is rocking a hat-reading thinking cap while Mike has his Hellfire Club shirt on, complete with a D20 and a demon. The Hellfire Club, as we'll see, is the school's D&D club. But maybe Lucas is drifting further apart. It certainly seems that way, and it lines up with Max's VO about the group trying and failing to be happy. Meanwhile, Eleven and Will are no longer in Hawkins at all. We see them bringing science fair projects to their new high school in Lenora Hills, California. They've been relocated there by the government to get them as far away from Hawkins and the Upside Down as possible. At night, Max walks through Hawkins High and we see the Creel house clock embedded in the wall. Now this could be a creepy hallucination or a nightmare, but given Max venturing to the Upside Down later in the trailer, this might be a side effect of her apparent new powers. Meanwhile, in Siberia, Hopper is serving hard time in the gulag, and between this and Black Widow, David Harbour is spending a lot of time in icy hellholes lately. We learn that Hopper was interrogated, experimented on, and seemingly forced to fight the Demogorgon along with other prisoners. So maybe this is the event that precipitates his escape as teased by the posters, but only time will tell. Next, we see Mike visiting 11 as they hold hands while roller skating at the Rinkomania with Will. Paul Reiser's Dr. Owens explains that as part of covering up this Russian conspiracy to open a portal to the Upside Down, he relocated everyone to California so they'd be safer. But considering Joyce gets a mysterious package from Russia and then she and Murray take an ill-advised flight later in the trailer, I don't know how safe anyone's really gonna be. They need parental supervision. Now that, and we also see a helicopter land in front of the buyer's new home, where Mike, Jonathan, and Will look on in surprise. It seems like Dr. Owens landed in California specifically to talk with 11 so he can recruit her to help stop what's happening back in Hawkins. And it's fitting that the meeting takes place in a diner though, as it evokes where 11 ran off to when she escaped in season 1 and where they killed poor old Benny. 11 mentions that she lost her powers because she removed a piece of the Mind Flayer from her leg in season 3 during the Battle of Starcourt. Clearly, Dr. Owens and his cronies, though, aren't taking no for an answer as we see 11 being hauled away in a paddy wagon. Moving on, Robin, Nancy, Dustin, Steve, Lucas, and Max get ready to explore the abandoned Creel house, and as Dr. Owens mentions the Eye of the Storm, we see the gang gathered around the light bulb in the center of the room, which is mysteriously working despite the house presumably not having active electricity. And this strange electrical activity of the Creel house was a major focus in previous trailers thanks to its connection to the Upside Down. With a flash of red lightning, bat-like monsters fly towards the upside-down version of the Creel house, but back in the real world, Steve and Nancy say they'll see each other on the other side. They and the rest of the Hawkins gang are getting ready to venture into the upside down. We see them riding bikes through Forest Hills Park in this nightmarish hellscape. We also get a glimpse of Joseph Quinn as Eddie Munson, the metalhead leader and dungeon master of the HELLFIRE Club. Then later in the trailer, we see him absolutely shredding a guitar in the Upside Down, kind of like the Doof Warrior in Fury Road. I don't know what he's doing, but I love him. As the voiceover talks about Hawkins being cursed, we get a flashback to a blood-covered young 11 at the Hawkins National Laboratory. The 7th episode of season 4 is titled The Massacre at Hawkins Lab, so maybe this is a preview of what happened on that fateful day. We then see Lucas's younger sister Erica walking through the Creel house with a lantern, Steve investigating one of the portals to the Upside Down, and another shot revealing a military convoy speeding through the desert. This is followed by 3 soldiers trying to apprehend 11 with short hair, only to be blasted away by her powerful abilities. Then we see a shirtless Steve battling those bat-like creatures in the Upside Down with the oar of a boat, while Eddie just shreds on guitar. Sure. We then get a blink and you'll miss it shot of the elder Victor Creel with both of his eyes gouged out, and from what we know of Creel thus far, he's a patient at Penhurst Asylum and it's unclear how he lost his vision. Next, we see Dustin giving a war cry with a club in hand, people fleeing from an exploding shack in Russia, 11 flying backwards in the Upside Down, Steve being pulled into the portal, Nancy coming face to face with the monster, and what appears to be Karen Wheeler protecting her youngest daughter, Holly. We also see Lucas screaming in fear at the Creel house, and Nancy pointing a gun at something or someone, maybe Vecna himself. Now, as we discussed earlier, the trailer ends with an up-close and personal look at the Lich Vecna in all of his tentacular glory. He dwells within the Creel house and has seemingly placed this curse on Hawkins. He growls to the group, "It's time, you have lost," as the trailer comes to a crescendo and we're left with more questions than ever. Anyway, folks, there you have it. That is everything we spotted in the trailer for Stranger Things 4. The first volume drops on May 27th and volume 2 comes out on July 1st. Now, we have plenty of theories about what's coming our way this season and we'll be rolling those out in the days ahead. But for now, tell us, what do you think of this trailer? Did you spot anything that we missed?
I don't know.
Let us know in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, stay tuned to Nerdist.com.